Before we get started, I want you to, this is my wife, and my wife is responsible for everything you see here in this lodge, decorating it. She spends hours and hours and hours getting it ready for us to have events here. And if you haven't read her book, Living with a Monster, okay, then you really need to if you live with an obsessed person. So if y'all don't mind, give her a hand for her because she... All right. And I had to follow up real hard to land her, by the way, if you don't know that, okay? Now, what we're talking about today, let me just start by asking this question. Number one, how many of you feel like over the course of your career, you've lost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars due to poor follow-up? And if you didn't say yes, you're wrong. Because we all, including me, have lost all kinds of not only money. I don't want you to think of follow-up today just as losing money. The amount of lost opportunity that we have when a person says, I want to partner with you. When a person says, I want to do business with you, and you don't catch it. When a person says, I got a problem that I think you can solve, but you're not listening. Think about all the lost money in pure strategic partnerships that you've lost. Because you met a person that you thought man, we could partner and do something big, but nothing ever materialized as a result of that. So when you think about this problem, the reason I wrote this book is because, for a decade, I watched how people followed up with me. Like if you knew how many incoming emails and phone calls and text messages and now Instagram messages that I get in a week from people that are trying to sell me something. Can I meet with you? Can I buy you a cup of coffee? Can we talk about something? Can we do this? And only to never hear from them again. They come at me one time. So I always look at a person on how serious they really are. If you only come one time, how serious are you about partnering with me? You're not serious. But that's what I saw for years. I would meet people at speaking engagements. They'd say, oh, I got this big opportunity, or I want to franchise a greatness factory, or I want to do something with you, and then I would never hear from them again. Now, we don't know what could materialize as a result of that partnership. So I have made it one of my life's mission to follow up like crazy with people. How many of you have ever been in my follow-up system? Raise your hand if you've been in my follow-up system, okay? Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. Miguel, you've been in our follow-up system, right? Did we follow up with you appropriately? We follow up with, I met him one time in Chattanooga, immediately liked him, said we need to be doing something with each other. I don't know what that something is. You understand what I'm saying? And I make up my mind if I want to follow up with the person in the first 15 seconds of our meeting. Everybody see that? The first 15 seconds of our meeting, when I'm interacting with you, I'm looking to see one thing. Do you and I believe the same things? And if we do, I'm going the distance with you. You don't know how many times I'm going to go, but I'm looking to see if you and I believe the same things. And if you do, I make up my mind, I'm going the distance. If it takes me 15 touches, I'm going 15 times. If it takes me 25 touches, I'm going 25 times. If it takes me 2 years, I'm going 2 years. I also make up my mind in the first 15 seconds if I say, look, there's probably no potential for us here. There's no opportunity for us here, mainly because we don't believe the same things. And if I spend all of my time trying to convince you to believe what I believe, then I have a saying, anybody you have to beg to get in are always the first ones trying to get out. Anybody you got a hard sell to get in to buy your product or service or manipulate or convince, and you spend a lot of your time trying to convince them that you're good enough for them, those are always the first people that are going to have a complaint the first time something doesn't go their way, and they're always going to be the ones trying to quit. Yes or no? Yes. Think about all the people you try to hard sell, and you're such a good salesman, you did sell them, only to wish you never sold them. So one of my favorite lines is, have you ever chased something for 15 months only to wish you never caught it? Right? Have you ever chased something for 15 months only to wish you never caught it? So today, we're going to break this concept down and get very granular with this concept, okay? And there's 3 promises I'm going to make to you. One, when you walk out of here today, you will have a plan to, before the sale ever occurs, in how to get a person's attention. How many of you have ever tried to get a person's attention for a long time and never be able to get it? What's the likelihood of you selling them anything if you can't get their attention? 0. Nobody's going to buy anything from you if they don't know who you are and what you do and why you matter. So the first place that I feel like a lot of people struggle is they can't get people's attention. They can't even get the meeting. They can't even hold a person's attention. And that may take 7 to 15 touches just to get their attention. Everybody see that? Okay? How many touches do you think most people go to get a person's attention? 1 or 2. I would tell you, you ain't even in the ball game. Do you believe you can get the attention of almost any person in the world? Yes or no? Yeah, not long ago there was a person that was a radio station that called in to the president's office, Donald Trump's office, and said that he was a senator from one city and wanted to talk about immigration. They patched him right through to the president. Trump sat there and had a phone conversation with this guy for 10 or 15 minutes about immigration in our country because he thought he was this other person. They didn't test, they didn't vet him, they didn't test him, they just put him right through to the president. He answers the phone. This is President Trump. I think you can get the attention of almost anybody. Now, many years ago, Tim Ferriss wrote a book called The 4-Hour Workweek, and when he wrote that book, he was teaching a class, I think at Stanford or somewhere, and he gave a challenge to the group. He said, I will pay for round-trip tickets anywhere in the world, for you to go anywhere in the world, if you can get on the phone with 3 celebrities. He gave that challenge to 50 people. 48 of them didn't even try. You know why? What did they say? Oh, I could never get in touch with any celebrities. They're celebrities. 48 of the 50 didn't even try to get a meeting. 2 dudes in that class tried. One of his favorite people was John Grisham, the author, John Grisham, that writes all the best-selling books. Who's from Memphis, by the way? Right? Memphis Mafia in the back. So he's from Memphis. This guy looks up John Grisham's office number, calls in to his office and says, this is so-and-so. I'd like to speak to John Grisham. John Grisham's secretary says, sure, let me put you through to him. John Grisham answers the phone. Hey, this is John. Hey, I'm so-and-so. I go to Stanford. I always want to be an author. You're my favorite author. I'd just like to spend a few minutes with you. He said, look, kid, you got 10 minutes. Ask me anything you want to ask me. All because he did what? Yes. He tried. Some of you are not getting business because you don't have the guts to reach out and initiate something, to try, to start. So the first promise I'm going to make you is before you leave today, you're going to have 7 good touches to get a person's attention. Okay? Number 2, the second promise I'm going to make to you is that after you get a person's attention and you build their rapport, you do some discovery, which most salespeople don't do, and you share your explanation of service, they're either going to say, I'm in, I'm interested, or I'm out. Everybody with me? I call that the moment of truth. They're either going to go, I like you, I'm interested. Okay? But I'm not ready to buy. Like that night we first met. You said, I'm interested in doing something with you. I don't know what it is, right? He didn't say, I'm buying tonight. He just said, I'm interested. I said, here's what we do, Miguel. Here's who the people we've helped. Okay, I'm interested. That then initiates the 7-touch follow-up. Does that make sense? So I had to get his attention. Then once he says, I'm interested, I got to figure out, I got to go 7 touches. Now, he may say, I'm in on touch number 2. He may say, I'm in on touch number 4. What do most stats say in sales? The average sale happens 80% of the time between touch 7 and 15. 80% of the time, the average sale happens between touch 7 and 15. So right out of the gate, what's the first thing we notice? Most people do not go 7 touches. They go 1 or 2 touches, which tells me what? They're amateurs. Professionals would never go 2 touches and give up, guys. So there's a 7-touch cycle, and today you're going to walk out with this 7-touch cycle. Now, I could give you my 7-touch cycle, but mine is based on my personality and how I challenge a person and how I bring a person to a buying decisions. You could copy mine, but you'll have to use a lot of the same tactics and strategies I do. Does that make sense? And I'll show you exactly what I say to people. Or you can say, I need my own 7 touches based on my personality style. Okay, now if you're running a company and you got, how many salespeople do you guys have? 200. They got 200 salespeople. Here's what I would tell you. I would never leave it up to 200 employees to come up with their own 7-touch system. I would say, here is our 7-touch system. Follow it. You follow what I'm saying? Now, if you're an individual solopreneur, you may come up with your own individual one that works for you. But you'll see, I'll show you my 7 touches when the time a person says I'm interested to the time we try to get a buying decision. Okay? But we're not finished. There's another follow-up. Most stats tell us that 98% of people never follow up with the customer once they've been sold. 98% of people never follow up with the customer after they've been sold. Although each transaction, no matter what you're selling, should be worth 5.7 referrals over the lifetime of the consumer. Okay? So how much money are we losing after the sale? Because we don't follow up. I mean, that's a lot. Now, here's what I would tell you. 5.7 is the average over the lifetime of the consumer. I would tell you that people that follow up with me may get 20 referrals, or 30 referrals, or 100 referrals. They may get more than 6. But 98% of people never follow up after the sale's over. Okay? Now, this is very important. You're going to say, well, we have an automated system. I have never seen, for the most part, automated emails generate new business, except when Amazon sends my wife automated emails. That seems to generate new business. Because when I get home at night, there's a new box every night. I'm like, what's in the box? Yeah, some of it's for me, yeah. Okay? But I'm like, I don't know what kind of follow-up system they got, but it works in our house. Right? Here's what I would tell you. Most of my automated emails that I send out, and I do send out automated emails, do not generate business. I don't use them to generate business. I use them to stay at the top of people's minds. Does it generate business? Yes. But I don't expect that I'm going to send an email out to you and you're automatically going to say, yes, I'm going to see Coach Burke. Right? Maybe if I was a country music singer and you said your favorite artist is coming to Knoxville or Nashville or Memphis, maybe go, yes, I'm going, because they only come one time a year or once every 4 years. Right? Now, these guys are in the restaurant business. I have never seen a restaurant that I've ever been to that has had a good follow-up system. That's tried to get me back in the restaurant after I left there. How many of y'all had an incredible experience with the restaurant before? You loved the restaurant, and after you left the restaurant, nothing tried to pull you back into that restaurant. I bet everybody in the room. So here's what you got to remember. I don't care how good it was. I don't care if it changed my whole life. Once I leave that restaurant, my attention is now focused on something else. Their whole job should be trying to pull me back to their restaurant. Okay? Now, air conditioning unit, right? We had a person come out here and fix the unit that we had. Something was going on with our unit here. Ask me how many times they called back. 0. Here's the problem. We got 4 or 5 units on this one house. Something's going to happen to those units, but I'm never going to get a phone call back from them. Now, why not? Why wouldn't they say, hey, if anything happens, why don't we be the first phone call for you, Coach? Matter of fact, we'll give you a 10% discount on the next one. See, there's no follow-up system. These are big companies that are making millions of dollars that have no after-touch follow-up. Everybody see that? So my point to you is today, you're losing money in one of those 3 areas. Either you can't get people's attention. Once you get it, you can't keep it. Or once they leave the store, then they ain't coming back to the store. So if we could solve those problems today, would it be valuable for you? Yes or no? Yeah, and listen, everything I'm teaching you, I'm trying to do myself. We drop leads, just like everybody else does. We have people that don't follow up. But trust me, I am on my team every day, every single day, about our follow-up. Okay? I want you to follow up to the point that they go, we get it. We get it, okay? Now, why would I have this much conviction in my follow-up? Here's the reason. Tim Story, who I'm doing a retreat with in a few weeks in Vero Beach, shared this on a podcast with me once, and I've never forgotten it. I'm like, man, this is incredible. For you to do anything with an intensity, with a vigor about you, with an energy and passion about you, you have got to go through this cycle. First, you've had some big revelation. You've had some big revelation. How many of you have had a revelation that your product or service can really change another person's life? How many of y'all had that? I was reading a card last night that someone sent me in the mail, one of our coaching students, about how the coaching program had changed her whole life and how she was so grateful and thankful. And we routinely get these almost every week, gifts from people. And it's a reminder for me why I do what I do every day. You follow what I'm saying? But here's my revelation. I believe a good coach can change your whole life. That's the revelation I had. I had that revelation when I was 6 years old on a baseball field in a small town, and I had a female coach named Mickey Vinson who said, son, one of these days you're going to be a great coach. If you've not had this revelation about your product and service, here's my premise to you. You won't go the distance in the follow-up. If you don't believe your deal can change another person's life, or it is superior to somebody else's deal, you don't have enough conviction to go the distance. How many of you have ever been somebody's tried to sell you something and you knew they didn't have conviction in the product they were selling you? Right? Okay, you've heard me joke about a telemarketer calling me one day and he's going through his pitch, and halfway through the pitch I said, I got a question for you. He said, sure, and I'm like, you don't even believe in this product, do you? You know what he said? You're right, I don't. Here's what I said. What's the probability you're going to sell me this product when you don't even believe in it? He said, how did you know I didn't believe in it? I said, because you don't have any conviction. Somebody give me a good definition of conviction.
A belief in yourself or your product?
That's right. Not just a belief, a deep-seated belief in your product or service. You got to train your brain to feel this. How can I justify to my own self that I would quit after a few touches if I believe this much in my product or service? You're actually doing a disservice to those people if your product or service can change their life and you won't go 7 touches. Have you convinced yourself of that yet? Because if you haven't, you won't go the distance. So when a person doesn't follow up with me, what I say is it's indicator to me that you don't even believe in you and your product and service. And what's the likelihood of me doing business with you if you don't believe in you and your product or service? 0. See, it's got to go beyond just the money. Like my sales team, it's got to go beyond just how much money they can make by following up. It's got to go that I believe in Coach Burt and this product and service so strongly, I'm going to fight for this every day. I'm going to fight to bring people back in. I'm going to fight to get people in class. It's got to go beyond something that's just money. It's got to go that I think through a relationship with me, we're going to change your whole deal. The money I'm going to get back is that card that you say that we changed your whole life, or the voicemail I got from you the other night. You understand what I'm saying? That's payment to me. You help enough people like that, money will come along with that. Don't you agree? So if you haven't gone through this, you've not had a big revelation, big aha moment. You don't have the conviction, therefore you won't do what? You won't go the distance. This is in any area of your life, by the way. The people that start and quit, which is a huge trend in our society today, people that start something and quit when it gets hard, the reason they quit is because they hadn't had the big revelation and they don't have the conviction, therefore they won't go the distance. Everybody see that? That's why they quit. I'm like, you ain't got enough right here. So the reason you should be following up with me with this persistence is because how can you justify to yourself that you had an opportunity to change the whole game for me, but you didn't even try hard enough to get and keep my attention? That's how strong it's got to be. Now, I show people pictures. This is the first house I lived in. I stretched it out to make it look bigger on the PowerPoint. That's the first house me and my mama lived in. My mama was 16 years old when she had me. The living room and the bedroom and the kitchen were all the same room. You follow me? And I ride by this house and I'm thinking, man, that's where we live? Asked my mom. I'm like, that's where we live? She said, yes, that's where we lived. In that house, though, it was where I learned pray drive. Give me a good definition of pray drive. Tim Grover's coming in tomorrow, who's Michael Jordan's coach. We're doing a retreat here over the next 3 days. Pray drive is typically prevalent in animals or dogs. Pray drive is an instinctual ability to see something and have the guts to go get it. So here's the example. How many of you have a little dog that you think would never hurt anybody? You got a little dog, and here's what they say. That little dog, Derek, I've seen your little dog. One of the only dogs in the world that actually liked me. Derek's dog. Here's the point. I see people all the time go, oh, this little dog would never in a million years hurt you. That little dog with the right trainer that knew how to activate its prey drive, you would not want to be alone in a room with that dog. You with me? Is prey drive directly associated with follow-up? Yes or no? When I see opportunity, do you know how fast I jump on opportunity when I see it? I don't care if it's 12:30 at night or 2:30 in the morning or Saturday night at 10 p.m. When I see opportunity, I jump on it. You know where I learned that? in that house right there watching my mom work 2 and 3 jobs. Some people, I'm like, here's your problem. You don't have enough pray drive. Like, it's out there. The opportunity's there, right? You just don't have enough pray drive to get it. Now, let's take you guys. How many people do you think come in your shops? 4,500 a year?
4,500 transactions, so probably about 6,000.
6,000 people come in their store a year. Now, is it not true that the salespeople that do the best job out of those 6,000 opportunities have the highest pray drive? Direct correlation between I got pray drive and I go get it. There'll be some people that come in there, they never follow up with them. They wait on people to come in the store. If I worked in one of their stores, you know what I'd be doing? Calling everybody I know to try to get them in that store. I'd say any leads y'all give me is a bonus. They're bonus leads. I appreciate those leads, but I don't need them to survive. I don't need your leads to survive. I'm going to get my own leads. Then I'm going to bonus your leads that you give me, right? That's pray drive. So when you don't have this pray drive, that's got to be activated by another person. Typically, a manager's got to stand over you, make sure you make your phone calls, make sure you do this. Now, we're using a system called gamification. Bob Taylor here is brought to us where it tracks our sales numbers calls all day and puts them on a board to make it a game. Make sense? Every time they dial, it shows. So we can stop throughout the day and go 40 calls, 30 calls, 20 calls. We can have conversations with them. But I wanted to add some competition to it to make it more fun. And I want to activate a pray drive. Because you don't want to look up at that board and somebody's made 100 calls and you made 4. It's embarrassing. If you got any pray drive at all, yes or no? So those of you that don't have a system like this, you need a system like this, because if you don't have a system like this, it's like, well, you got to ask everybody, well, Aaron, how many calls did you make today? Well, Brian, how many calls did you make today? Jareth, how many calls did you make today? They could lie to you, by the way. They could lie to you. Oh, I made 170 calls. And they made 3. Right? And adults lie a lot. Okay? My 6-year-old daughter, she hadn't figured out how to lie yet. She's figured out how to stretch the truth. But she hadn't figured out how to completely lie. A lot of adults lie. Okay? So, along the way, these are pictures of me growing up, learning how to follow up. Learning how to follow up. Look at all the hair I had. Me and Mom, 16 years old, playing basketball. The basketball was bigger than I was. But I was always thinking. And I was always thinking. Now, I'm telling you this because it ties into follow-up. When I was 18 years old, this was an elementary school I went to elementary school at, and I wanted to be the basketball coach at this school. And I went down to see the principal to present an idea. I'd like to be the head boys basketball coach at this school. He gave me opposition, which we call what in sales? Objection. Objection is opposition of thought. Now, what kind of objection do you get on a daily basis? Got to talk to my wife, got to talk to my husband, got to think about it, got to sleep on it, got to pray about it, got to do. There's all these things we got to do before we make a decision. Most of those are lies. Yes or no? Most of those are lies. Okay? So my objection, here's what he said my objection was. You're too young. You're too young. We can never give you this job because you're too young. But I read a stat, even at 18 years old. Most sales happen between when and when? 7 to 15 touches. So I went back 14 straight days. And I showed up every day. When he showed up in the morning, this is in the summer, he showed up in the morning, I'd be sitting there waiting on him. His name is Mr. Ennis. So Mr. Ennis, Coach Burt, saw you yesterday. I'd like to come back and apply for the head boys basketball coach of this. He said, look, I told you you were too young. I understand. I understand you think I'm too young. You're not an adult. I understand. Why don't you put an adult with me? You can say they're the head coach, but I'm really the head coach. Can't do it. Won't let me. School board won't let me. Okay? I take it. I go home. Come back the next day. He shows up, Mr. Ennis, Coach Burt. Here to apply for that job for the head boys basketball coach. Been thinking about what you said. Okay? Now, I know some people on the school board. I'm sure we could talk to them once they know that I'm qualified and they feel good about it, right? Can't do it. Not qualified. Don't come back again. Day 4. Show up. Good morning, Mr. Ennis. Here to apply for that job for head boys basketball coach that you told me I couldn't have yesterday. But I've been thinking about this, and I've got 2 or 3 solutions to this problem. 14 straight days I showed up. Day 14, guess what he said?
Make some coffee.
Kid, you got the job. Mainly because nobody else wants this job. He put that adult with me. See this adult over here? By title, they called him the head coach. He sat over there and watched me coach. He was just an adult, a figurehead. So I'm 18. I'm coaching this team. The very first year, we won a state championship. 31-5. They never won a state championship at that school before. Now there's a big banner in there that says state champions. It's the only banner they've ever had. He comes to me at the end of the year and said, you did such a great job coaching, we're going to pay you. They paid me $199.50 for the whole year. Now this is very important to the story. This is where I learned to follow up. Right? Persistence. How many of you reward people that follow up? How many of you reward people that follow up? Right? If they have a product or service. I reward effort. Right? I reward effort. So this is where I learned to follow up. The very next year, I got a call. So here's a concept on follow-up. Every day with my current customer is an interview for my next customer. Okay? I want you to write this statement down. It's not in your notes. Where there is no engagement with a product or service, there can be no transformation. Okay? Where there's no engagement with the product or service, there can be no transformation, i.e. change. And where there is no change, there is no referral. Everybody see that? Each transaction you do should be worth how many referrals? 5.7. If there is no engagement between me and Tony before, during, or after the sale, I can't change Tony's life. And if I can't change Tony's life, what's the probability he's going to go tell other people I can change his life? Everybody see that? So this violates a rule that we were talking about today. After the sale, where there's no engagement with the product or service after the sale, there can be no change, and where there's no change, there's nothing for me to go tell people. What do you want me to tell people? We don't ever talk to each other. There's no engagement. It hadn't moved the needle in my life. So this is a problem. Do you know how many insurance agents sell insurance and never talk to their customers after they sell the insurance? Which is why people hate their insurance agents. Do you know how many financial advisors sell people stuff and then don't engage with them after they sell them something? Which is why they feel bad about their financial advisor. You everybody understand what I'm saying? All the things we do for our coaching clients, when you look at the ridiculousness of how many things we offer in a month, do you know why we offer that many things? Derek, why do we offer as many things as we offer?
You don't know what somebody wants to get them in at a level upsell.
That's right. I want a lot of doors, and I want a lot of engagement. Because I believe this, where there's no usage of a product or service, there can be no change. So I want to engage with people like crazy. And I'll show you my whole method. At the end today, I'll show you how many times we engage with the person. Sunday email, Monday accountability, Tuesday, Thursday rhythm, private Facebook group, special events every month. You understand what I'm saying? I want to engage with people like crazy. It will only work if they don't engage with me. But I'm going to try to engage with them because of this one principle. So when I'm coaching that team, every day at my current job is an interview for my next job. So at 19 years old, I get a phone call from Riverdale, and and here's what he says. I've heard about you. Is that a referral, yes or no? Heard about you. Heard you can coach. Will you come down and be my assistant coach? And I go to Riverdale High School to be an assistant coach. And I start coaching this team. That's me at 21 years old when I was the head coach. New age begins. Follow up. You know how I got that job? Follow up. Follow. Staying right in the principal's face every day. I'm right here every day. I'm not going anywhere every day. There were people more qualified to get that job than me, by the way. But who was in the principal's face the most? Me. Okay? So we began doing things nobody else was doing. We began teaching the 7 habits of highly effective people, principles of good to great, 5 dysfunctions of teams. Nobody was doing what we were doing. Very important to this story. Because when you do stuff nobody else knows what you're doing, they want to know how you're doing it. And so we started winning championships. That's me on championship night. You ever stood in front of 10,000 people when you were number one? It's an amazing feeling. I would not trade that night for anything in my life. But here's the best news. After I retired at 31 years old, guess what the team kept doing? Winning and winning and winning. 7 more championships after I left. That's how you build something, guys. Something that lasts after you. Do you know what happened to my competitors? One of my competitors, he left, his whole program went downhill. They went from being number 1 to dead last. Now why? Why would that happen? What you want to build is a dynasty. So for you, most of you in this room have a high prey drive. The problem is you haven't instilled it in your team. They don't have the same intensity you do. So when people started asking me what we were doing, I said I ain't got time, so I started writing all these books. I ain't got time to explain what we're doing. Just read the books. Now, how many of you have a book in you that you haven't written? Raise your hand. Here's a follow-up. You know how many people come up to me and say, I want to write a book at some point in my life? But they never follow up on it. They never take the time to do it. Is this more powerful and a follow-up? We use these as follow-up tools. Like you think I use them to sell them? I don't make a bunch of money on books. I use this as my business card. We meet, I send you my book. This is my philosophy, Bob. This is just 1 touch out of 7. If Bob reads this book and likes me, what's the likelihood we're going to do business with each other? This is a new business card. That's exactly right. So Dr. Hotze, who's in our program, he does that a lot. He don't write the books to sell them. He writes the books. Every person that goes to his clinic, every person that goes to his place, he gives them a book and signs it and takes a picture with them and sends a framed picture of them to their house. That's follow-up. How many of you got a framed picture from me at some point? Okay? When we do special things together, go on my plane, go to a retreat together, we take pictures, I send them to my assistant. She has them all ready for me when I get to the office. I sign them, and I send them. Here's the deal. People will never throw away framed pictures with their self in it. They'd throw away a picture with me in it. They just wouldn't throw away a picture with themselves in it. Right? So you take those pictures, guess what they do? They put them up there, and they're like, hey, I remember when I went with Coach Bird on that plane and how incredible it was. Right? Is that part of follow-up, yes or no? Yeah. That one thing probably nobody in this room is doing, but you should be doing. Somebody comes to your office, take a picture with them. Frame it and send it to them. Cost you a few bucks, make a note in there, but what if you add a book to it? See that? That's part of follow-up, guys. So I write these books because I got a message I want to share with the world. And the book just gives me a chance to share it with the world, okay? Unless you sell millions of copies of books, you ain't going to make a bunch of money on books. Okay? The person that wrote Harry Potter, she didn't know she was going to do that. Never even written a book before. Okay? What about that scary book, 50 Shades of Grey? That person that wrote that book didn't know they were going to sell it, right? That's the first book they'd ever written. I'm telling you, I'm too scared to read it. I can't even read it. But my point is, it became movies and all these things. You write the books for follow-up. Everybody with me? Now, somewhere along the way, I followed up and landed her. Right? And we had her. And trust me, she knows how to follow up like a machine. Because of my follow-up, here's a big piece of this equation. Because of my follow-up, I've been able to spend time with some of the top people in the world. All of those people in that picture right there are worth $50 to $100 million. 400 million, 50 million, probably 200 to 400 million. How do you get around people who have influence and money? When you're fishing, you can either fish for bluegills or you can fish for blue marlins. Follow-up has helped us to do that. So it helped us to buy that bus and travel all over the country. I take people with me all the time, by the way. Okay, took David Bilbrey with me yesterday. Why? Gives us a chance to spend all day with each other. Give me the chance to buy that airplane. Okay, follow-up has allowed me to do all these things, guys, because of persistent follow-up. Okay, now, it allowed me to get on stages like 10X right there, follow-up. I had to go to Cardone and say, why won't you let me on that stage if you think I'm good enough? I had to follow up with him for 6 years to get the opportunity to get on that stage. Does that make sense? So people always ask me, how did you get on that stage? Follow-up, 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 follow-up. Now, when you're thinking about it, it allowed me to work with those companies. Okay? So here's one of my favorite lines. If I could do these things because of follow-up, guess what? You can do these things because of follow-up. So I want to stop right here, and I want you to tell the person beside you, based on what I've already said, where do you think your initial gut is telling you that you're lacking in follow-up? Is it prey drive? Okay? Is it before get attention? Is it during? Or is it after the sale? Where do you think you're deficient today? Okay? Take a minute Talk to the person beside you on that. All right. Now, the way this is going to be set up today, we're going to go about 45 minutes, take a break, 45 minutes, take a break, 45 minutes, take a break, okay? I think attention span of most adults is, if you can keep them for 45 minutes, you've done something big. Follow me? So I would like to hear from the group, out of what everything I shared in the first session, where do you think your missing structure is? Some of you, I'm already got it. You have the pray drive, but your team don't. You got to get up and go, but you haven't been able to instill this in all of your team members. Activating the pray drive in another person is the job of a manager, coach. Okay? It is your job to activate this. Now, for those of you that need somebody else to activate your pray drive, then that tells me that you do not come with batteries included. And this is a problem, because the people that win in this world come with batteries included. They don't, like I don't need you to call me and get me out of bed. I don't need you to motivate me. I don't need you to check on me every Monday. I don't need a text message from you telling me I'm going to be okay today. Like what I want is, I don't need that. What I want is a strategy. What I want is, how do I go from here to there? Okay? Some of your people, though, need what? They need that. Okay? You're trying to figure out, like, part of what I do is just recommit you. It's just inspire you to go do something. It's not just teach you something. It's inspire you to actually go do something you know you should already be doing. You're just not doing it. It's a reminder. Okay? So give me some, my girls in the back from Florence, Alabama. I spent 1 year of my life one night in Florence, Alabama. I got a story attached to that, but I can't share it with the group. Tell me what you guys are going to work on today, because they're all mortgage originators.
Follow up on pre-qualifications.
Okay? Now, here's a big lesson. When a person is interested in your services, the deal is not complete until you have a deal. One of the biggest things you got to do is tag people. And tag people is keep tagging them right up until the moment that you have a commitment. This is a huge mistake a lot of people make. Oh, they're going to sign the contract. Oh, they're going to do the deal. Oh, they're going to do this. And so you just sit and wait. That is a huge mistake. You should be tagging people the whole time. Tagging is text, video, phone call. We tag people with different people. So I'll call them, Eric will call them, I'll have somebody else call them. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I keep tagging a person until we have a deal. That's a huge mistake a lot of people make. Oh, it's going to close. It's going to be okay. They're going to do it. Listen, people are so fickle in today's world. They can love you 1 second and hate you the next. They can be excited 1 minute and completely disinterested the next minute. They can have one conversation and change everything. One person can negatively affect them. You understand what I'm saying? So you have got to continue to tag people from the time they say they're interested to the time they close. Never assume anything. Bring the deal to completion. Complete it, okay? So that's very, very important. So you're going to do a better job of that, yes?
Yes.
Okay, all right, what else? Mallory?
We're going to follow up after the deal has closed.
So you know how many mortgage originators never follow up after the deal's closed? Huge mistake. You're losing 5.7 deals. Average person is going to buy 4 to 7 homes in their lifetime, by the way. You could get all 7 of those, number one. You could get all their friends, number two. It's never going to happen just through some crappy automated email. Okay? You need to follow up day of, 2 days after, 2 weeks after, 2 months after, and then you need to have something every quarter for them to be involved in. And I'll show you how to do that at the end today, all right? Jay Cash, how does this apply to your business?
I'm waiting for the next hour, Coach. I'll give you an answer.
Okay? I didn't give you anything at first hour?
No, you didn't.
Come on. Come on, Jay. I'm just kidding with you. Bob Taylor?
So by the pure nature of our business, telephone systems, gamification, we're following up.
Yep.
Right? We're definitely following up just because there's changes. But that's following up on the tech side. We need to follow up on the sales side, the appreciation side.
That's right.
So that's where I'm lacking right there.
That's right. Where there's no engagement, if Bob sells me the gamification and I use it, but I never hear from Bob again, that violates our rule we talked about in the first segment. Where there's no engagement with the product, I've got engagement with the product. I don't have engagement with the person who sold me the product. So the referrals dry up. Why? Not because I don't like Bob. I'm not thinking about Bob.
But I'm also also not learning, what do you love?
That's right.
Right, I'm not learning that.
You can't add value to me when you don't. Like a lot of people think at the end of this deal, I'm going to get you a gift. Like we're going to get you a bottle of flavored orange vodka. And that's going to help you remember me forever. Like that's what they think, right? A lot of people see it's like a closing gift or a gift, and that's all, like right? That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about Bob engages in my life. Bob finds out what's important to me. He creates consistent value for me. I, in turn, open up my network of people to him. And I'm fighting for Bob. Where there's no engagement with Bob, that ain't happening. Does that make sense? What if we're not even using the product right? What if we get the gamification, we don't even understand it? We're not using it to its full capacity. It's not moving the needle for us. See what I'm saying? So there's all kinds of ways he could follow up. Hey, let me make sure it's working correctly. Let me come spend a day with your team. Let me get in, right? Like there's all kinds of things to jump in there till we go, we love Bob. Everybody in the room should be using gamification. Everybody understand? Like that's what you want us saying. So what I wanted to show you in that first session was really just a session to get your motor turning a little bit. Most people are not coachable till they figure out how much they're losing. People are more motivated by what they'll lose than what they'll gain. Now you're starting to figure out how much money you're losing. Because I'm showing you exactly where you're losing it. I could get you a 40% increase in a 1 year easy. Just by getting your follow-up right. It'd be easy for me to get you a 40% increase if we just got your follow-up right. Everybody see that? So was this a good session for you? First session? Jay, was this a good session for you? First class. Thank you, bud. I appreciate that. All right, let's take a short break. If you want to get some coffee or anything, we'll take about 10 minutes. And then we'll come back and we'll go and get into the meat of the very first cycle.